Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Oh, this is the worst looking hat I ever saw. Well, you buy a hat like this, I'll bet you get a free bowl of soup, huh? Oh, it looks good on you, though.
I know that one. Rodney Dangerfield, Caddyshack. We're going to play them all night long. We're going to have some fun talking about some of the greatest and funniest sports. Well, not funniest, but funniest and some classics. I mean, there's some of the greatest ones out there that weren't funny movies. Hoosiers, we talked about that earlier. And we'll be talking to the guy that actually wrote Hoosiers during the show today. Raging Bull is one of the great movies of all time that people have at the top of their list sometimes. I like the funny ones, though. I like Caddyshack. I like Major League. I like things like that. And we're going to have some fun because you heard Alex talk during the Sports Flash about what happened in Connecticut. I love the fact that the NBA and the NFL are going to have a moment of silence before games this weekend to remember the folks in Connecticut. And that's where I come from, where when I come onto the show and I talk about, just fun stuff, sometimes we just need to get away from life. We need to just divulge into sports. And sometimes we get serious about sports. The Aaron Murray thing and the the Alabama rivalry in the first hour. And some people get real serious about it. But sometimes, sports is our way to just escape life, escape mortgages and bills and peer pressure and this and that and stuff that's going on in Connecticut. So we're going to have fun tonight. And we're so glad you're with us on 92.9 The Game. And joining me in the studio right now is Rick Cohen. And Rick is an independent filmmaker. And we have Rick with us, an award-winning director. And this is from Rick's website. Independent award-winning director, writer, producer, and actor in the entertainment industry. In 2001, Rick moved to Atlanta and opened Endorphin Entertainment. It's a film production company that specializes in documentary-style filmmaking within the sports genre. And Rick, welcome to Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Hey, thanks a lot, Fish. What's going on?
You can't call me that on the air.
I can't call you Fish.
All right, you can call me whatever you want. And your time is up. Good having you on the show, Rick. Come back another time.
Yeah, beautiful.
Real quick, I'm not even going to read this bio stuff because you're here. I'm going to talk to you. Last night, you had one of your films on Georgia Public Television. It aired at, 11:30 go on? Did it go on?
Right on 11:30.
Right after the high school football state championship games, the 5A game in which Gainesville knocked out Ware County. Tell us about that film last night, what it was about.
Well, it's sort of like my trilogy of high school films that I've done here now in Georgia. And John East, who's the head football coach at the Walker School, was out of coaching for 20 years and took this job almost by default because he had lost his job leaving Whitfield Academy to take the head athletic director job at Pinecrest, which is a very prestigious school down in Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton, Florida. For reasons unbeknownst to him and not his fault, he lost his job when the headmaster was sort of excommunicated out of his job after 3 months. And John, sort of the collateral damage of the whole thing, he and his wife and a bunch of other staff members that he brought down from Georgia to work at this school were out of a job. He's 58 years old. He's, been in education for 38 years, never been out of a job, and now he can't get another job. Well, he starts consulting at the Walker School in La Crosse to start their program. And the next thing you know, he finds out that the head football coaching job is open at this small school that really has never had a winning season. They had one, and they were 3-7. They had 33 kids on their football team. And John said, I want this job. So he always wanted to get back into head coaching. And it was 20 years from the last time he coached a varsity football team. And they went 10-0 this year. And went to the quarterfinals, lost to George Walton. George Walton lost to Elka, which went on to win the whole state championship. But it was a really great story, sort of the redemption of a man finding his way after sort of losing his way for a little bit.
What makes a good sports film or a sports documentary? Because there's some good stuff out there, and we're going to talk about some great sports films and sports movies, and there's some gosh-awful stuff out there as well. What makes a good sports film?
Well, I think a great sports film transcends the sport. I think if you're going to watch a sports film and the only thing that excites you is the action, you're going to be vastly disappointed in the end. Rocky is great not because of the boxing matches, but because of the relationship between Burgess Meredith and Sylvester Stallone and Talia Shire. those relationships are what really make the movie great and not the actual sport.
New documentary coming out, and this is why it's going to be kind of timely tonight to talk about our favorite movies, sports films, and so forth. There's a new documentary coming out on the infamous Cubs fan, Steve Bartman. We all know Bartman, the guy that became the most hated fan in the Windy City when he took a foul pop or knocked a foul pop-up from Moses Alou, costing the Cubs a key out in Game 6 of the 2003 NLCS. This film is premiering at the Tribeca Film Festival. Have you ever had any of your films at the Tribeca?
Yes, I have, actually. Faded Glory played at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Okay. This one recently was there, and the name of the movie about Steve Bartman, Catching Hell. That's the name of the movie.
Well, Catching Hell actually has been out for a long time, believe it or not.
Okay.
And it's funny you brought that up because the producers of Catching Hell are the same ones I'm working on a new film right now that is in queue for the 30 for 30 this year.
You're going to be doing a 30 for 30 on ESPN.
On ESPN.
Can you tell us what that's about?
I can tell you what it's about. We haven't been given the exact, okay, we're ready to go forward, but the producers I'm working with are a guy named Gary Cohen, Matt McDonald out of Triple Threat TV in New York. I brought the project to them about a year ago, and it's taken this long to sort of get to this point. It's called Gut Shot, and it's about the history of the World Series of Poker and how the sport has sort of the culture of poker has changed in the last 10 years from being, old men
back rooms,
in back
rooms,
smoky rooms with cowboy hats and names like, Quicksilver or whatever you want to call it, to these young kids with hoodies and iPods in their ears, drinking acai berry smoothies at the table and getting massages. A guy by the name of Dutch Boyd started what at that time was the first sort of cult group of young poker players called The Crew. And some people may remember this. It was 6 young guys, and they lived in the same home, pooling all their money together, entering the same tournaments, and literally taking over the poker world for like 2 years. And it's a real rags to riches to rags kind of story. And it's based on this guy, Dutch Boyd. But it's really the culture of poker. So really cool. It's called Gut Shot. And I will not be directing that. A guy by the name of Michael Talajian is going to direct it. And he did Once Brothers for ESPN 30 for 30, the one about Drazen Petrovic, Vlade Divac, and the Yugoslavia basketball team.
All right. We're talking with independent filmmaker Rick Cohen in the studio with us today. We're going to talk about some of the great sports movies and films out there. And if you want to give us your opinion, 404-741-0929, or you can text us at 22929. Now, we played a little clip from Caddyshack. Was that one of your favorite movies? Rick, real quick, your top 2 or 3 favorite sports movies of all time.
Well, first of all, number one's not even close. It's almost like I put a bullet to it. It's got to be Slapshot. I'm wearing the jersey right now. I grew up on Long Island. I went to high school 15 minutes from the Nassau Coliseum, where the Islanders dominated all the years I was in high school, from 1981 to 84.
That's become like a cult film for hockey fans.
Actually.
I mean, it's a cult film. I mean, the hockey fans just love it. It's almost like Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, it's the complete picture of sports with the healthy dose of like animal rage, vulgarity, and shameless rule breaking. It's such a great sport. But here's the thing: when people look at that sport, that movie, and they go, "Oh man, that's such a man's movie." Well, it was written by a woman, and a lot of people don't know that. Nancy Dowd was the screenwriter, and she was the sister of an ex-minor league hockey player, and she followed him around. And he actually appears in the movie. He's Ogie Oglethorpe in the movie, the guy with the big afro.
Oh yeah,
right,
bad guy.
That guy, not a tough guy at all. But for some reason, you were expecting this big, buffoon to come out.
He played a tough guy in the movie.
Right, but he played a tough guy in the movie, and if you at that time, if you had a big afro, that made you tough. So,
what? Name some other movies that you.
Okay,
just give me maybe two more, and then we're gonna take some phone calls.
Number 2 is going to surprise you. Breaking Away, wonderful film about an Indiana bike race at the University of Indiana.
I did not expect that to come out of your mouth.
No, Dennis Quaid, Daniel Stern, the actor who played Kelly Leak from Bad News Bears is also in it, and it's a wonderful coming of age movie. It's very funny. It's very realistic. It's very poignant, and it talks about an historic event that goes on every year at Indiana University. And I guess my third one would be the original Longest Yard for many reasons.
Yes. Us old fogies, remember the one with Burt Reynolds?
The one with
that
Burt Reynolds.
remake with Adam Sandler that was trash. Gosh, that was awful.
I run as far as I can when I hear they're going to remake a sports movie.
Yes.
I really do, because it's never as good as the original. They try to do another Slapshot. I think one of the Baldwin brothers was acting in it. But and here's something that's going to surprise you. I am not a Major League fan. I'm a huge baseball fan, as you know, but I do not like the Major League movies. Bull Durham, yes. Major League, no.
All right, we'll talk more about that, and we'll actually hear some clippets from Major League as well. We've got some folks on the line wanted to tell us their favorite movie. Karen in Atlanta, welcome to 92.9 The Game.
Hey, guys.
Hello, Karen. You got a favorite movie?
Of course. It's Moneyball. Did you love it?
Oh, Moneyball's great. Aaron Sorkin, one of the best writers in Hollywood. How can you go wrong?
I can't believe they had that 6 Academy Awards and they won zip.
I was a little surprised about that, too. I think Brad Pitt, I think it's one of his best roles.
I do, too, because he wasn't the pretty boy. I loved it. I loved the whole movie, and I think a lot of the criticism was it was too slow, it had too many stats, but I've seen it twice, actually.
This will surprise you, Rick. And Rick knows me as a baseball fan, too.
Yes.
I love baseball. I thought I was going to love that movie because I'm a big baseball fan. I didn't like that movie. I did not like that movie.
Wow.
Okay, tell me why. Okay, let's go. Spill it.
I don't know. Maybe because I follow baseball so closely, and I'm looking at the guy that was playing manager, Art Howe, and I'm going, that looks nothing like Art Howe. And all I saw was Brad Pitt playing a part. I couldn't get him.
Really?
I couldn't get into the character.
Okay, what about the scene where they were all in the room and they were talking, and all the old guys, all the scouts were talking about how they drafted guys based on their body type, or even if they had girlfriends, if they had an ugly girlfriend, it meant the player had no confidence.
He has no confidence. I remember that part. I mean, he had it. Maybe I expected too much. Sometimes that because I knew it was nominated for all the awards. And Karen, thank you so much for the phone call, by the way.
Fabulous, of course.
I think the fact that maybe I was expecting so much because I knew they were nominated. And then the short, pudgy guy that played his assistant,
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I think I maybe expected too much, and that happens to me a lot. I see a movie. I saw a movie recently, The Fan. Robert De Niro and Wesley Snipes.
That's on my worst.
That is one of the worst movies.
That's on my
all
worst
time.
Baseball movie of all time.
I thought that would be a good movie because how bad could it be with those two guys?
First of all, I'll tell you why that's my worst movie. One of my worst movies of all time. I can't stand it when the action is not realistic. And there are certain times in that movie where a baseball hits the wall and the guy's rounding first, and you know he'd be at third base already. And it was directed by an Australian director who knew nothing about baseball.
Pride of the Yankees, one of the best movies. It had 11 Academy Award nominations. Gary Cooper played Lou Gehrig. Cooper could not play a lick of baseball. In fact, he could only swing right-handed. And as you know, Lou Gehrig was a left-handed hitter. They actually had him do everything right-handed. They had him wear uniforms with the numbers reversed, and they reversed the film then, so it looked like Cooper was actually batting left-handed, and they had him run to third base when they were filming it.
Do you know they did that with Robert Redford as well in The Natural?
Oh, I didn't really?
Yeah, they reversed the camera on that as well. He was a right-handed hitter. They wanted him to hit left-handed, and
This is cool. Talking with a film producer, Rick Cohen, about sports movies. Matt from Kennesaw, you're on 92.9 The Game. Hello, Matt.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, you got a movie for us?
Invincible. What's going on, Rick?
Hey, man, how you doing?
SP is in the building.
SP is in the building. Oh, South Philly, how are you?
What's going on, man?
I like Invincible. I did a film festival down in Florida during the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and I got to meet Vince Papale. I got to meet the original Vince Papale. Really cool guy.
This was the walk-on for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Walk-on for the Philadelphia Eagles. Great story. I thought the movie was okay. I thought, who I thought was really great was, the actor who played Dick Vermeil. He was spot on, Dick Vermeil.
Matt, thank you for the call, by the way.
All right, buddy.
Hey, take it easy, South Philly.
Let's go to Joe. The phone calls are coming in, 404-741-0929. Joe incoming. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hey, we're talking movies. We don't want to get serious tonight. We want to have some fun talking sports movies. You got a good one or a bad one for us?
Best one.
Okay.
Varsity Blues.
Oh, geez.
Did you text that in? Somebody texted that in as well. Was that you?
It was not me, but I'm glad that there's people out there that think it's that. Because, I mean, you want to talk about a great high school football movie and about how the players come together and get rid of the coach.
Who was in that? That wasn't the Tom Cruise one?
No. It's the kid from Dawson Creek.
Okay.
It's a good movie. Yeah, Vanderbeek. By the way, Greg Kinnear played Dick Vermeil. That's who it was.
Joe, thank you so much for the call. We've got to take a break. We come back. We're going to talk more about the best sports movies and sports films of all time. And if you got a clunker, we'll take that as well. We'll also have a special guest coming up in about 15 minutes. The guy who actually wrote Hoosiers and wrote Rudy. That's going to be great. Looking forward to that interview, and we'll hopefully, maybe he'll take some calls from our listeners as well. Stay with us. Mike Salmon with you on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
It's game time.
The Game.
Crank it up. This is Sports Radio 92.9
The Game.
Excuse me, what the hell's going on out here? Well, Nook's scared because his eyelids are jammed and his old man's here. We need a live rooster? We need a live rooster to take the curse off Jose's glove, and nobody seems to know what to get Millie or Jimmy for their wedding present. Is that about right?
That's right.
We're dealing with a lot of...
Okay, well, candlesticks always make a nice gift, and maybe we can find out where she's registered, maybe a place setting or maybe a silverware pattern. Okay, let's get to it. Here we go.
All right, I recognize that one. Crash Davis, Kevin Costner. What was the name of the movie, though?
Bull Durham.
Bull Durham, thank you. I could not think of the name of the movie. Bull Durham.
That's an easy one.
That was a good one. That's on my list of one of the best sports movies of all time. Now, Kevin Costner was also in Field of Dreams, and you were saying during the break you're not a big fan of Field of Dreams.
I'm not a big fan of Field of Dreams. I'm not the big sappy fantasy sports guy. If you want to go that route, I like Rudy as my favorite film, where I like drama, but I don't like sensational drama. In other words, I don't like ghosts coming back and voices being heard. That's not my thing. I love Rudy for the pure essence of the underdog coming back.
All right. Later on in the show, in about 20 minutes or so, in less than 20 minutes, we're actually going to have Angelo Pizzo on the line. He is the writer, the screenwriter and film producer, but the writer of Rudy and Hoosiers.
Yes.
So for our listeners out there, if you want to talk to him about that movie, Rudy was one of my favorites. I've got some great questions for him about that. Ken's been hanging on the line. You're calling from a car phone in Atlanta. Ken, welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. This is a great topic, and you just played one of my favorites, the Bull Durham thing. But I've got another underdog movie for you, and I bet neither one of you knows it. It's called The Best of Times.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that Kurt Russell?
It's Robin Williams.
Man, was it a great movie or what?
They want to relive their high school glory.
No, they want to replay the game.
Kurt Russell. That was a great movie. Thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah,
okay.
It's okay.
Love the show, guys.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and warn our listeners and our callers right now with Rick in the studio. There's probably not a movie that you're going to be able to come up with, a sports movie, that he's not familiar with. Let's go to Joshua and Swanee. Hello, Joshua.
Hey, Coach Mike.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
You've got a movie that you like, a sports movie?
Uh-huh.
Okay, what's your favorite sports movie?
The Miracle.
The Miracle or Miracle?
Miracle.
That's the 1980 Olympic hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
I have a story about that.
Thank you, Joshua. Thanks for the phone call.
I went to college at University of Pennsylvania, played college football for 4 years. 4 guys on that same team from 83 to 86 all became directors in Hollywood. One of them, Gavin O'Connor, directed Miracle. He also did Warrior last year, which was the MMA film, and he did Pride and Glory. Bo Zenga directed, who was also a football player at Penn, directed all the Scary Movies and Soul Plane. And Stan Helsing, I think that was another spoof movie.
So he did Scary Movie 1, Scary Movie 2?
He did Scary Movie 1 and 2. I don't think he did the ones after that.
Okay.
And then the last guy was Timmy Chambers, who directed Mighty Max last year, which was the story about the girls' Immaculata basketball team from Philadelphia. Was the sort of first powerhouse team before the Tennessees and the Connecticuts.
Okay. I that last caller, Rick, I like Miracle. I like that a lot. It was a good movie because Kurt Russell did a great job portraying Herb Brooks, and then all the actors that played all the players, they were actual hockey players. I mean, you could tell they knew how to play the game, and so it was very realistic in that way.
Yep.
Carlos has been hanging on the line. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Hey, Carlos.
I've got a couple of them. My first one is The Sandlot, and my second one is Two for the Money. And I think just because, to me, with The Sandlot, it's everything what's right about sports and sportsmanship, and Two for the Money to me is everything about what's wrong with sports wagering and how it can go south very quickly.
Okay, Carlos, Sandlot, that was the one with the kids, and they hit the ball over the fence, and there's like that rabid dog.
There's like Cujo on the other side of the fence. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great movie. Thank you so much, Carlos, for your input. What was the other one? Two for the Money? Or
Two for the Money? I think it was
Two for the Money, was that? Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. Are you familiar with it? Did we find one that you're not familiar with?
Two for the Money?
You going to look that one up online?
It's about a handicapper, sports handicapper.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Named Brandon Lang.
But no,
Al Pacino.
You're talking about the recent one, the Matthew McConaughey one. Yeah,
right, yeah.
That was
it's directed by DJ Caruso, yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Anytime you want to play any sports movie clips, just let us know.
Okay, sure. I got another one for you.
Play one right now. Let's see if we can figure it out. And we'll go to our next caller. We won't say anything. We'll see if our caller can figure it out, too. Okay. We've got John from Gainesville. So, John, we're going to get to you in just a second. Let's listen to this real quick.
Here we go, guys.
¿Qué pasa there, Pedro?
Bats. They are sick. I cannot hit curveball. Straight ball, I hit it very much.
Seriously? Come on.
Curveball. Bats are afraid. I asked Jobu to come. Take fear from bats. I offered him cigar and rum. He will come.
You know, you might think about taking Jesus Christ as your Savior instead of fooling around with all this stuff.
Ah, Jesus. I like him very much. But he no help with curveball.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
Okay. John, real quick from Gainesville. John, by any chance, did you hear that clip? Do you know what movie that was from?
Oh, that was an easy. That's a softball. That's Major League.
Yeah, really.
Major League. Okay, what was your favorite movie, John?
One of my favorite movies, not really the three major sports or four major sports, but the movie American Flyers, another Kevin Costner movie.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a sleeper film. It's one of his first movies. I think it was right after Fandango.
Fandango, another great movie, Kevin Costner movie, but American Flyers. And also, I don't know if it was mentioned earlier because I just got in my car and loved the topic, but North Dallas 40.
You know what? I just saw that again on TV. What an interesting movie. You know, Mac Davis, here's a little thing for you. Mac Davis had to stand on a box in the huddle when they did the huddle shots because he was so tiny compared to all the football players. But when it's funny, when you watch older movies like that and you compare them to the action in the movies today, they really pale in comparison. But Nick Nolte is Nick Nolte, and he's amazing in that movie, you know. Well, one of my favorite scenes is when he goes into the GM's office at the end, and he's telling J.D. Spradlin, the coach, you know, there's parts of me from here to Pittsburgh. Come on, you know, and just how he gave his whole body to the game of football. Really wonderful movie.
I remember, of course, the shots, you know, where they're shooting themselves up to get back in the game.
Yeah.
We know that never happens in real life, though.
No, never.
Some of the text messages coming in at 22929, the replacements. Thank you, Mike P. I like that. Is that the one with what's his face?
Well, John Favreau directed it. I don't like anything he directs. I'm sorry.
The Matrix guy, right? The replacements. What was the?
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves.
I actually, you know, some people think that's a bad movie. I like that movie. That's one of those movies. Every time it's on, I've seen it 10 times. I watch it.
Gene Hackman.
Worst movie, Any Given Sunday. Tin Cup, Caddyshack, Friday Night Lights, A League of Their Own, Tom Hanks. There's no crying in baseball. That was a good one.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing that came out of that movie was that one quote.
No, that whole movie was good. That whole movie was good. Let's go back to the lines and hold on. Let me pull them up here so I know who I'm talking to. We've got who's been holding the longest. Looks like I can't tell anymore up here. We'll go with Steven and Swanee. Steven, welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, Gentlemen, good evening to you.
Hey, what's up, Steven?
A great baseball movie that not many people saw when it was in the theaters, 8 Men Out, with a great cast and a very historical movie. And the worst baseball movie of all time has to be The Slugger's Wife.
Yes.
My next-door neighbors were extras in the stands that day.
Rebecca De Mornay, The Slugger's Wife. She's the best thing about that movie.
Michael O'Keefe could not swing a bat, and Rebecca De Mornay could not sing, nor could she dance. And that was just a gosh-awful movie.
Great casting.
Great casting, exactly.
Yeah, Steven, thank you so much for the phone call. 8 Men Out, was that John Cusack and Charlie Sheen? And that was a good one.
Another really good historical movie. It's funny, anybody watch
that was 1919 Black Sox scandal,
anybody watch The Walking Dead, of course, the new popular show on TV.
Zombies?
Well, the guy who's missing one arm in the Walking Dead, I can't remember the actor's name. His name is Michael Rooker. He was in 8 Men Out. He was one of the bad guys, so to speak, in 8 Men Out, one of the baseball players.
Okay, hopefully I'm doing this right. Ken in Lawrenceville, are you there?
Yes, I sure am.
Hey, Ken.
I got two of them. One movie I really liked. Not a lot of people may know about it. It's called Facing the Giants. It's a football movie, high school football movie about a coach who has not had a winning season in like 6 years, and the school is thinking of terminating him.
Was this a widely released movie?
This is a faith-based movie. I know. I'm very well aware of Facing the Giants. I directed a documentary recently called Season of a Lifetime. That's a faith-based movie as well, about a high school football coach down in Greenville, Georgia, who has Lou Gehrig's disease. I'm sure some of you have heard the story. But we've been talking to a bunch of people who have done Facing the Giants and maybe trying to turn this film, Season of a Lifetime, into the next Facing the Giants or the next Blind Side or something of the sort.
Some of the text messages coming in. Waterboy. That was a great that was funny. I mean, that's obviously not in the class of, Rudy and Raging Bull and Hoosiers, but that was a funny movie. 8 Men Out, Green Machine?
I don't know Green Machine.
That was a football movie, I think.
Waterboy, last night in Walk East that was on TV, one of the coaches imitates Adam Sandler's Waterboy. Maybe we'll go out for free pizzas and soda.
Chris from Johns Creek, you got a favorite movie or a bad sports movie for us?
Hey, guys, it's Chris. How about The Rookie?
The Rookie. That was based on a true story.
Yes. By the way, I'm going to bust you right now. This is my co-producer, Chris Polero, on the line from Johns Creek. Chris, you can't hide. I know that's you, Chris. Chris has produced all 5 of the films that I've made. So
okay.
He's calling from Johns Creek. What's up, Chris?
Oh, I just knocked him off the air.
You knocked him off the air?
I knocked him off the air. I didn't sound like you had anything else to say. Chris, call back. We'll put you back on. You can talk to Rick. You guys can talk all the time.
We can. But he has some good insight, though.
I'm sorry about that. Let's go to Wendell in Bremen. Hello, Wendell.
Rookie's good.
Hey, guys, great show. How about We Are Marshall?
Love We Are Marshall.
That was another movie with Matthew McConaughey, whatever you say his last name. And I was expecting so much, and I watched it and did not like it.
I liked it. If you know the story, if you really know the story, it was very accurate.
I think we all know the story.
I thought it was one of his best acting.
Why'd
jobs.
you like it, Wendell?
Well, I just liked it because I think it was based on a true story about the college team Marshall, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it had a lot of good, points to it to me.
I think, and Wendell, thank you so much for the phone call. I think maybe it's kind of like with Moneyball and Brad Pitt. When it's a real famous actor playing the lead role, I just see them as that actor playing a role, and I can't get into the character. I don't know why, because with what's the one that about the high school football? Remember the Titans? And
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington. I really enjoyed that one, but I don't know why I didn't like the We Are Marshall.
Well, it's funny that you bring that point up. I love Slapshot because of Paul Newman, and Paul Newman obviously was a big time actor, and the fact that he even agreed to do a film like Slapshot was amazing. Yeah. But he made that movie. But he's one of those.
No, the Hanson brothers made that movie.
Well, the Hanson brothers. No, I'll tell you, Paul Newman's performance is underrated in Slapshot. He's slick. He's funny. You believe that he's this coach of this minor league hockey team. So that's how I feel about that. But a lot of actors, like for instance, Kevin Costner and Tim Robbins, became famous from the sports movies, whereas Paul Newman was already an Oscar-winning actor, and agreed to do a movie like Slapshot, which is pretty.
And that's what makes it more of a cult classic, is that the fact that Paul Newman's just in that movie.
I know.
That's amazing. John and Roswell, welcome to Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. You're with Mike and film producer Rick Cohen.
Hey, I just want to say shame on whoever saved the League of Their Own before The Natural's been brought up.
Yeah,
Natural's a great movie.
Oh, yeah. Roger Town.
And while I'm here, too, White Men Can't Jump, Above the Rim, and he got game.
Well, Ron Shelton's probably one of the greatest writer, producer, directors of sports films of all time. So you can't go wrong with anything that Ron Shelton does.
All right, we're trying to knock out the phone calls, 404-741-0929. We have 3 minutes left. We got 30 seconds. All right, Brian and Alpharetta, you got 30 seconds. Brian, what's your favorite?
Oh, well, the Rocky Saga, first and foremost, minus Part 5.
Part 5 with Tommy Morrison. That was a fighter that could not act.
I'll go minus Part 4 and 5, but I did like the new one.
Oh, yeah, Balboa is a great bookend, great way to end it. And also the Guilty Pleasure movie, which is kind of bad and kind of good, Vision Quest.
We were just talking about that. Madonna was not in Vision Quest, by the way. I don't know where that guy said Madonna was in Vision Quest.
Brian, thank you so much for the phone call. We're up against a break. Coming up soon, we're going to talk with Angelo Pizzo. He is the screenwriter for Hoosiers and Rudy, two of the best movies. And we'll take your calls, continuing to talk about some of the great and some of the bad movies of all time with Rick Cohen, film producer here in the studio. Mike Salmon with you, Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners. Okay? All right! Let's go! Let's go! Let me hear it! Go, 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 go!
Oh, you gotta love that. From Hoosiers, one of the best sports movies of all time. And Mike Salmon with you on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game, along with filmmaker Rick Cohen. And it is my pleasure to welcome to the show Angelo Pizzo. Angelo is the writer of Hoosiers, which earned 2 Oscar Award nominations and was named the best sports film of all time by both ESPN and USA Today. Angelo also was the writer of Rudy, one of my favorites, and again, one of the classic sports movies of all time. Angelo, welcome to Sports Radio 92.9 in Atlanta.
Well, thank you.
We have your friend here, Rick Cohen, another filmmaker and so forth. How do you guys know each other? Tell me the story.
Well, I mean,
Rick, go ahead.
First of all, there's very few people I'm awed by, and Angelo is one of them. I know he's laughing.
That's funny.
I've always been a huge fan of his. Before I even got to know him, I did a film in 2007 called Faded Glory that was released in 2009, and Angelo saw the movie through a mutual agent and wanted to turn it into a feature film. So we got to become friends from that relationship. We haven't made that film yet, Angelo, but who knows? One day we will. But I've spent plenty of time with Angelo, and just a wonderful human being, as well as the most talented screenwriter in Hollywood in the sports genre.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Angelo, I know you've done some other great films and great work out there, The Game of Their Lives and so forth. What is it about some of the movies that you've written, Hoosiers and Rudy, that makes them classics? What makes such a great sports film?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. You sound
Mike,
like you're in the back of the room or something.
Yeah, Mike, your mic's not working.
Well, again, now I think you can hear. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry about that, Angelo. You've also made The Game of Their Lives. You've made some great, written some great ones. Hoosiers, Rudy, I mentioned them. What is it that makes those films stand out? What makes a great film, a great sports film, a great sports movie?
Well, I can't really talk about my own films because I don't have any objectivity. I'm simply I write movies that I would want to see, that I feel that I would respond to, and I just hope other people do. But I can tell you with films that I connect to, it really comes down to a couple of things, and one is that it has to be about a character and his story. It can't be about the sports. The sports is just a backdrop. The connection that the character, the protagonist, has with the audience has to transcend what it's about in terms of the sports. And I really think that I'm either moved or not moved, or care or don't care about characters when I go to see a movie, and how a screenwriter and a director come together and create that is what is magic about films. And a lot of people try, and a lot of people fail, and some people succeed. And it's not formulaic. It has to be from the gut, and the connection from the audience to the characters is from the gut too. So it's not easy, as Rick will tell you. You just do the best you can and hope for the best.
We're talking with Angelo Pizzo. He's a screenwriter and film producer. He wrote such great classic sports movies as Hoosiers and Rudy on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Rick and Angelo, kind of walk us through the process for those of us that are not in the Hollywood industry. How does a film go from a good idea? Obviously, the Rudy story is just a great story. The Hoosiers was a great story about that basketball team back in the mid-1950s, I believe, in Indiana. How does a great idea, those are good stories, how do you get from A to Z? How does that go from, okay, let's make a movie to what we finally see on the screen?
I'm going to let the master talk first. If I talk first, I just don't feel right. Go ahead, Angelo, and then I'll.
Well,
I mean, how do you write a movie?
My feeling is that, and having been in this business now for about 30 years, and I worked as an executive for 7 of those years before I wrote scripts, ideas and stories are very similar. They're not that unique. It's really all about execution. It's all about how people make it happen, and those are the artists behind the scenes. And those are the writers, the directors, the actors. There are innumerable variations of underdog stories, whether they be about individuals or teams, and some just lay there flat, and others don't. And I hate to be overly emphasizing the most important aspect, but it's where I come from. I think if you don't have a great script, you don't have a great movie. I think if you hand Steven Spielberg a mediocre script, he'll make a mediocre movie. And it all starts with a great script. And if you don't, then after that, I've seen great scripts being made into not good movies, but then it takes the skillful guidance of a director and the abilities of the director to hire great actors and the execution in that regard, as well as music and cinematography and so on and so forth. But it really starts, and Rick would agree with me, I know on this. The ideas are a dime a dozen. Great screenplays are rare, and that's where it comes from.
Well,
do you agree, Rick?
Absolutely agree. I mean, I spent 10 years in Hollywood really just grinding out script after script. And, I know Hollywood execs, unfortunately, they look at the big picture, and that's why sport films aren't made as often as other films like rom-coms, because they just look at, how much money is this film going to make, and not how great the script is. And when you read an Angelo Pizzo script or some of the other great writers out there like the Ron Sheltons, you're going to get a great script as well as a great story. For me, how far the athlete or the protagonist falls in a movie and how he gets back up, to me, that makes a great sports story. I think almost every single one has that. Hoosiers has it. Rudy has it. Even Slapshot has it, And I think that's what makes a great sports film.
Angelo mentioned casting the right actors for the roles. And was it Sean Astin that played Rudiger in the movie? I don't know how you got to him, but he was like the perfect person you could find for that role. I mean, it made it so believable. He did such a great job. I'm sure you probably have stories where maybe he wasn't the first guy for that role or another role, and then somebody fell into it and it just worked out perfectly. How did you get Sean Astin? Was that the guy you wanted for that role?
Sean, because we wanted to adhere as close to the truth as possible. Sean very much is Rudy, the real Rudy. In terms of stature, in terms of personality, in terms of the positive outlook and the way he looks at his life. And they shared one thing in common. They were fundamentally incapable of hearing the word no. And it wasn't Columbia Pictures or TriStar Pictures' first choice. In fact, it was their 10th choice. They wanted to put Matt Damon, they wanted to put Brendan Fraser, and they wanted to put some of the hot young actors at the time in that role. And we kept on fighting and saying, well, they may be recognizable on trailers, but the fact is they don't even resemble Rudy. In order for Rudy to work, he's got to be 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing. And we fought and fought and fought, and finally we won that battle.
Angelo, I'm just amazed that I love the fact that we're just talking to you because I mean this is like a dream for me because Rudy was such a great film and all this work you've done. And we're going to play one spot from Rudy right now. Go ahead.
I don't know. I just don't see the point anymore.
So you didn't make the dress list. There are greater tragedies in the world.
I wanted to run out of that tunnel for my dad. To prove to everyone that I worked...
what?
That I was somebody.
Oh, you are so full of crap. You're 5 feet nothing. 100 and nothing. And you got hardly a speck of athletic ability. And you hung in with the best college football team in the land for 2 years. And you're also going to walk out of here with a degree from the University of Notre Dame.
That is so awesome. And we're talking to the guy that wrote that stuff.
I know.
That is awesome. Angelo, I got a question about that movie at the end, too. And I'm sorry, I'm just, focused on Rudy. And not, you got so much other great work to talk about. At the end, in the scene where he finally gets into the game against Georgia Tech, it looks like that was filmed at the Rose Bowl there. Was that done during halftime of a real USC game? How was that done?
No, it was filmed at halftime of a Notre Dame game.
Of a Notre Dame game? Was it at Notre Dame?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was at Notre Dame. Yeah.
And it was funny. It was Georgia Tech, too.
I was thinking for some reason that it was the Rose Bowl or something. Okay. And it was Georgia Tech was playing Notre Dame in that game, as it turned out.
Yes.
No. It was we dressed the real 27 seconds he played was against the Georgia Tech team. But we recreated that in the 7 minutes we got in the halftime of the Boston College game.
Okay, and those were all actors on the field.
1991 season.
So you've got a stadium, 100,000 people there at a Notre Dame Boston College game, and you're telling them now at halftime we're going to film this Rudy scene, and you need to cheer.
Actually, what happened was I think there was a confusion. There was a problem. We handed out flyers to people who walked in the stadium, and most people just threw them away, didn't pay any attention. And when everybody walked up, when the teams, Boston College and Notre Dame, ran off the field, most people kind of got up to go to the concession stands, but our teams ran on the field. I think a lot of people were confused, and they stayed and watched. And because this was recreated. And it happened very quickly.
Because you didn't have a whole lot of time
to into the spirit of the thing.
Yeah, you didn't have a whole lot of time to shoot the scene. You have to get it done like in 1 or 2 takes and get off the field.
Yeah,
7 minutes.
Yeah. By the way,
7 minutes.
Both those films, Hoosiers and Rudy, were directed by our good friend David Ansbaugh. We should say that.
Yes.
Of all the films, and we're talking with Angelo Pizzo, screenwriter, film producer. He wrote Rudy. He wrote Hoosiers. I don't know if you can answer this question, and if you can, I understand. But do you have one of your films that is just closest to your heart, one that just seems that means the most to you?
Well, it's like talking about your kids. It's not really fair to pick one over the other. And I have I think because Hoosiers was my first movie, the first script I wrote, and it was a shocking breaking into reality about how to make a movie experience, and we survived it, and somehow that movie sustained over the years. I think that probably is a little closer to, and of course I live in Indiana and grew up there. I'm closer to Hoosiers than I'm Rudy, because quite frankly, and Rick knows this, growing up in Bloomington, Indiana, I didn't like Notre Dame football at all. So,
yes.
But you'll be surprised to hear, or maybe not, more people talk to me about Rudy than they do about Hoosiers.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And more people who, and we're talking about people that have no interest in sports or football or Notre Dame. Well, it actually affects people emotionally more than Hoosiers does, in my experience in talking to people.
Well, I've had the pleasure of being in Angelo's home, and he has 2 things that are amazing, 2 artifacts that are amazing. One's on his wall and one's on his desk. You want to tell people what they are?
And hurry up, Angelo. We got about 30 seconds.
30 seconds?
I don't know. Rick, tell me. I don't know. I got
well, you have
he's got a lot of things on his walls.
You got the Indiana. Floor, right?
My desk is made of the floor from Indiana University basketball. 3 national championships were won on that floor. Yeah, it's a big desk.
And the Pyramid of Success by,
John Wooden.
John Wooden.
Angelo, thank you so much for coming on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. Angelo Pizzo, screenwriter, film producer. He wrote Hoosiers. He wrote Rudy, just 2 of the best classic sports movies of all time. It was my honor. And Rick Cohen, independent film maker with us as well. You're going to stick around for a little bit longer?
Absolutely.
Talk more about some of the greatest sports movies of all time. Mike Salmon with you. Stay tuned. We'll take your calls and take your text messages next on Sports Radio 92.9 The
Thanks,
Game.
Angelo. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Atlanta Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Well, you guys are obviously well-educated fans. So we want to buy you a drink. No. Lewis Scott is going to buy you 2 a drink. All right.
All right. Any idea what sports movie that was? Robbie, we may need your help on this one.
That was Celtic Pride.
Celtic Pride?
No wonder why that one was lost. Because
what was Celtic
movie.
Pride?
It was entertaining.
Daniel Stern, come on.
All right, we've had some folks holding for a while, and we don't want to do that to them anymore. Ryan in Atlanta. Ryan, welcome to the show. What you got? Ryan, are you there?
Oh, my God. What an amazing opportunity and privilege to talk to that guy, right?
That was pretty cool.
Awesome, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so I just tuned in not too long ago. I didn't know if you mentioned Warrior, and if you did, I'd like to hear your comments. I think that's one of the best films.
The Warrior, okay,
thank
you.
No, Warrior, he's saying. That was directed by literally my college buddy, Gavin O'Connor. We played college football together at University of Pennsylvania. Funny story on Gavin. I'm not saying I got Gavin into the movies, but I waited online for 2 hours for us to get into theater arts class so that we can both take theater arts together, my junior year and his senior year at Penn. And once he got into the theater arts class, he fell in love with the movies, and the next thing you know, he's this big-time director.
Some of the text messages coming in, Blue Chips, Wildcats, $1 Million Baby, Caddyshack, of course. We've got 30 seconds left. Let's go to Tony and Marietta. Tony, you got a favorite sports movie?
Actually, I got a real dog for you. It was the one with John Goodman where he played Babe Ruth.
We were talking about that today.
Yeah.
How awful that was.
Awful. And, I'm 57, and the movie I saw as a kid that was just god-awful was, I think it was called The Jimmy Pearsall Story.
Yeah, well, they had Tony Perkins playing Jimmy Pearsall. Tony Perkins weighed about 130 pounds wet. It looked like he was still in Psycho when he was playing the role.
Oh, it was just absolutely terrible. And a seed goes out to De Niro. Didn't he play in a boxing movie, a true story?
Raging Bull.
Yeah,
Raging Bull. I mean, he was unbelievable in that movie.
The story of Jake LaMotta. Thank you so much for the phone call. Our other callers, hang on. We'll get to you right after the top of the hour. Mike Salmon along with filmmaker Rick Cohen on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
And now, Sports Radio 92.9 The Game, Sports Flash.
I'm Alec Campbell. The Falcons can go 12-2 with a home win against the Giants tomorrow. Tight end Tony Gonzalez knows the Falcons will have to play very hard.
I think we're up for the challenge. We got to be. I mean, we have no choice to get to where we want to go, playing the world champs. I mean, the team that bounced us out of the playoffs last year, we got to play this week, and we got to play well in order to win. So I'm looking forward to it.
Roddy White, William Moore, Jonathan Babineau, Harry Douglas all questionable. Asante Samuel and Sam Baker both probable. Kick time scheduled for 1 p.m. Late second quarter at the Highlight Factory, and the Warriors leading the Hawks 50-42 with about 2 minutes left to play in the half. College hoops, Butler upsets number 1 Indiana in overtime 88-86 earlier today. And the 7 non-football playing schools in the Big East, they've decided to leave the conference as of this morning. Those include Georgetown, St. John's, Villanova, DePaul, Marquette, and Seton Hall. They'll seek a more basketball-centric format. Finally, all NBA and NFL games over the weekend, observing a moment of silence before kick or tip to remember those lost in the tragedy in Newtown, Connecticut yesterday morning. With updates every 20 minutes, I'm Alec Campbell on Atlanta's only 24-hour sports station, Sports Radio 92.9 The Game and 92.9thegame.com.
Atlanta Sports Radio. not good enough for you? Oh my God, I won't be around when this check clears.
All right, Robbie Rosenhaus with some movie clips for us as we're talking about some of the best and some of the worst sports movies of all time, along with film producer Rick Cohen. And that one I did not recognize, Robbie. Did you, Rick?
Well, No Holds Barred, maybe one of the worst movies ever made, next to Over the Top. How about Over the Top? Sylvester Stallone in the arm wrestling movie.
Let me give you some of the worst. The Fan on this list. Any Given Sunday, Rocky V, that's the one with Tommy Morrison, Caddyshack 2.
I told you, any remake of a great classic.
Rollerball. The Bad News Bears Go to Japan. We mentioned The Babe.
Hold on. Rollerball 2, not the original. James Caan original is awesome.
Which was Rollerball? Which one was in 2001?
It was the what was the young actors?
Okay, so this
Chris
was
something.
This
Chris
was the remake then.
Something. Yeah.
Okay, The Slugger's Wife, maybe the worst of all time. Let's
Klein.
see. Okay,
Chris Klein.
Before we go to the callers, we're going to do that real quick. Let me give you a top 10 list that I saw. Number 10, Field of Dreams. Top 10 movies. Field of Dreams. Number 9, Major League. Number 8, Breaking Away. What an Oscar.
Hey, did I
You
say
mentioned
that?
It. Number 7, Caddyshack. Number 6, The Natural. Number 5, Bull Durham. Number 4, Slapshot. 3, Rocky. Number 2, Hoosiers. We just talked to the writer. How cool is that? Number 1, Raging Bull. Raging Bull. Okay, let's check in with Billy and Marietta. Billy, you've got a favorite sports movie of all time?
I got two of them, actually. The first one is The Legend of Bagger Vance with Will Smith. And the other one is actually my kid's favorite, The Little Giant.
Wow, The Legend of Bagger Vance just missed making the worst top 10 on my list.
I'm not a big fan of that movie with Will Smith. I just don't,
And the other one was Little Giants?
Yeah.
Despite mistaken, aren't you a girl? Gee, good eye. Spike don't play with girls.
There you go. That was for you, Billy, Little Giants. Thanks for the phone call, Billy.
Thanks, guys.
By the way, De Niro, great in Raging Bull, right? Well, there's another little sports movie back in 1973 where he played a catcher, Bang the Drum Slowly, which is, I thought, one of his most underplayed performance of his career.
If you want to give us your thoughts on your best movie or worst sports movie of all time, 404-741-0929 is the phone number. The text line is 22929. On the text line, Any Given Sunday has shown up again. Color of Money. Let's go back to the phone lines now. And DJ in Noonan. DJ, welcome to Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Hey, Mike. How you doing? Thanks for taking my call. Love the show. I actually had two also. The first one is with Kurt Russell. I believe it's called Miracle, about the USA hockey team.
We just talked about that at length, actually.
And then I'm a lover of radio also.
Yes,
radio.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Yes.
My friend Mike Tolan made that film. Very good film about...
very, very inspirational.
Very inspirational.
While we have you on the line, DJ, worst movie of all time that you may have seen or not seen, for the case may be.
Oh, jeez. I'm not a fan of Caddyshack 2 at all.
Caddyshack 2. We were all
It's
gasping when you said Caddyshack.
Anything with a
until
two.
you-
Caddyshack 2?
No, the original is absolutely awesome. That it's one of those they should never have done it. It was just horrible.
Right up there with Slapshot, too. Thank you, DJ. Leslie in East Cobb. Leslie, welcome to the show. Hello?
Leslie, hello.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm sorry we made you wait so long, but you got a favorite sports movie?
Well, we wanted to kind of shift things up a little bit. We're really enjoying the program. I'm sitting here with a group of women, and we kind of wanted to lay out a quote for you guys and see if you could name that movie.
Okay.
We love our athletes, and we love our athletes' movies and all the emotions and all that, but we'd like to kind of see if you could name that movie.
Sock it to us.
Yeah, really.
Okay, you ready?
As ready as we'll ever be. Ready,
Okay,
Freddie?
so the quote is, I believe in long, slow, deep, soft, wet kisses that last 3 days.
Wait a minute. I just saw this. Was this a sports movie that I was watching?
It's a sports movie. We want to see, can you name that one?
Bull Durham.
Bull Durham.
Bull
It
Durham.
might have been Susan Sarandon. Holy cow.
And that's what we got from the movie.
All right. Did you have another one?
No, that's it. We
That's
like
it?
that quote.
I just saw that like last week. I don't know why. I was flipping channels, and there it was. And, Leslie, thank you so much for the phone call.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Leslie.
Bull Durham had a lot of great lines.
Yes, it did.
A lot of great lines. And we heard one earlier about on the mound, what do you get for the wedding? And candlesticks make a nice gift.
Yeah, that's one of the.
And that was
that's one of my
ad-libbed. That actor that said that, I saw him in an interview, and he's saying, we kind of did several takes, and, we went with the script, and we didn't really talk about this with our first guest, and maybe we will with our next guest, but sometimes you have they'll just ad-lib some things, and you see if it works out.
Well, I think the actor who was in that TV series, Arliss,
Yes.
remember Arliss?
Yes, that was the guy.
That's who it was. I'll
It don't matter. By the way, about 8:40, we're going to be joining another of Rick's friends, Sean Pamphilin. He's an independent filmmaker and former sports TV producer. He did the 30 for 30 Run Ricky Run about Ricky Williams. And he's also the guy that was in the New Orleans Saints locker room when Coach Greg Williams made those remarks about, let's hurt the other team, all that Bounty Gate stuff. And he was the guy whose audio that we all heard. So we'll be talking to Sean around 8:40. Later this hour. Let's go to line 1 now. We have Leroy in Atlanta.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, Leroy.
Love the station. I like Remember the Titans. That's one.
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans.
That was one of the best. I mean, that's one I've seen probably 10 times. Every time it's on TV, I watch it. Thank you, by the way, Leroy. Thank you.
What happened to Leroy?
Leroy had to run. Okay, that's why he was there. Okay.
Okay.
He had to say, remember the Titans. Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you later.
Nice talking to you. Let's just go on. Dave and Carter. We got these callers lined up. Dave in Cartersville. Welcome to 92.9 The Game.
How you doing tonight?
Great. Hey, you got a good movie for us?
Yeah, one of my favorites, an old movie with James Caan called Brian's Song. The story of Brian.
I'm surprised we haven't brought that up yet. Gale Sayers.
You know, I'm shocked that they haven't done a remake of that one yet, although I think they did another TV movie. They did a remake. Right, but
probably one of those made-for-TV movies.
It is, but if you watch it today, it is really sappy. I mean, it is overly sappy, but it was so great. Nobody had told a story like that at that time.
Billy D. Williams.
Playing
Gale Sayers.
First of all, Billy D. Williams looks nothing like Gale Sayers or plays nothing like Gale Sayers. At least James Caan was a real athlete, and that was, that's my big rub with a lot of the sports films today.
Let me throw a couple that have not been brought up yet. Let's say we talked about Jerry Maguire. I'm surprised there weren't more Jerry Maguire folks.
Well, by the way, Jerry Maguire is my favorite screenplay of all time.
Okay, that had a lot of good lines. Show me the money. Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. I just laughed just reading it. That was Will Ferrell. If you ain't first, you last. And then those kids. I'm all coked up on Mountain Dew. That was hilarious. Heaven Can Wait. Remember that with Warren Beatty? He played the quarterback of the LA Rams.
It's number 15 on my list, which I haven't gotten to yet. But first of all, Warren Beatty was a huge sports fan and wanted to make this movie so bad. I read his biography, which is about 1,000 pages long. But Warren really championed that movie, and that was all him. I mean, he wrote the screenplay, he directed it, he actually. Produced it as well. And to me, that is the top comedy sports movie of all time next to Slapshot.
By the way, we've mentioned Paul Newman a couple of times. He was also in The Hustler with Jackie Gleason.
That's right.
That was about Minnesota Fats and all that. A League of Their Own, we kind of talked upon. 1982 Academy Award-winning Best Picture.
Chariots of Fire.
Chariots of Fire. I don't know if anyone has mentioned that. By the way, 9 o'clock hour, we will go back to sports, talk about the Falcons and the big game against the Giants. But we're having some fun right now talking about the best sports movies and sports films of all time or the worst of all time. 404-741-0929. And our text line 22929. Mike Salmon along with film producer Rick Cohen.
I'm going to give you a film that's not a sports film, but it's got sport in it. Ben-Hur. There is nothing like the chariot scene in Ben-Hur. I mean, first of all, it transcended its time. To try and film that today and repeat what they did back in 57, 58, really an incredible scene.
Rick, if you were a caller right now, I'd cut you off.
Oh, please, Ben-Hur. Come on, your guy over here is agreeing with me.
I'm cutting you off.
I just got a text message from the assistant program director, and you were talking about sequels not being good.
Yes.
He tells me that Rocky II was pretty darn good.
Rocky II still doesn't beat Rocky I, but it was lesser of all evils.
Hey, Phil. Sorry about that. Phil in Johns Creek. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, hey there.
Hey, Phil.
I don't think it's underrated, but maybe people forgot or I missed it talked about earlier.
I think He Got Game is a really good one.
He Got Game.
With Denzel Washington and Ray Allen.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a little campy for me. A little over the top.
A little bit. I thought it was made for a pretty good jump drama. I thought it was pretty interesting. It wasn't too cheesy and rah-rah, so I thought it was pretty interesting that it was more dramatic.
Phil, how old are you, by the way?
26.
26. Okay, so you will not know this movie. That's a recruiting movie. You look at
Phil
it this
say
age.
26 or 46?
26, he said.
Okay.
There's a movie, if you can find this movie, called One-on-One with Robbie Henson or Robbie Benson?
Robbie Benson.
Robbie Benson. With Robbie Benson, that's really, to me, the best recruiting movie of all time. Like what college recruiting was back in the 70s.
Uh-huh.
And I think that was really over the top. He Got Game. Whereas I thought that it was a very accurate portrayal of what the recruiting business was like.
Super interesting. I'll have to check that out.
One-on-one. J.D. Spradlin is the head coach. He's the same head coach in North Dallas 40. That guy, that's all he did was play head coaches.
All right, Phil, thank you so much for the phone call. Let's go to Sam in Cobb County. Sam, welcome to the show. You're with Mike and Rick.
Hey, how you doing? Just wanted to go back in a couple of decades. You familiar with a movie called It Happens Every Spring with Ray Milland, baseball movie?
Uh-oh. I think I'm stumped on this. I know who Ray Milland is.
You have stumped the film producer here in the studio.
It happens.
It happens every spring.
Every spring?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's on DVD. I haven't seen it since I was about 15 years old. It's an old black and white movie with Ray Milland. It's not a message movie or anything. It's just a fun baseball movie. It's about he's this college professor who's a fanatic about baseball, and he accidentally invents this liquid that repels wood.
I just found it, 1949. Wow.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he uses it, he uses it in his mitt as a pitcher to throw balls, and he throws hopper balls. Every time somebody swings at the bat, the ball jumps over the bat. So it's a fun movie, right?
It's kind of like the Bugs Bunnies, where Bugs Bunny's pitching and the ball's just,
Yeah. Also, I wanted to correct you on something earlier when you said about I love the movie Slapshot with Paul Newman.
Yes.
He hadn't won the Academy Award when he played in that movie.
He hadn't won, you said?
No, he didn't win. He didn't win his first Academy Award, believe it or not, until Color of Money.
Until Color of Money, right? And I thought he was up for Verdict too, right? Didn't he? Wasn't he up for that?
He lost to Ben Kingsley in Verdict.
Man, he didn't win for. Oh man, he didn't win for HUD or.
He did not win. Yeah. Matter of fact, he had been nominated so many times and lost that he didn't show up when he won. When he won for Color of Money, he did not show up that night, and he actually won.
Well, that is awesome. Thanks
you,
a
Sam.
lot, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thank you.
that.
Thanks for the phone call.
I'll tell you one we haven't mentioned.
Mighty Ducks.
Well, no, not Mighty Ducks.
We did get a text on Mighty Ducks.
We
by the
did
way.
not mention anything about the Bad News Bears. I did mention
I mentioned
about
them
the
on my
actor,
list.
But
I mentioned the bad one. The Bad News Bears Go to Japan, which was a bad one.
And by the way, as far as sequels go, the second Bad News Bears is not that bad. The one they go breaking.
Bad News Bear and Breaking Training.
Well, the one where they go to Houston
Yeah.
and they have to play in the Astrodome.
But the first one was still the best. Walter Matthau, Tatum O'Neal, 1976.
Although we used that let them play cheer from Bad News Bears 2.
I got you. How much time do we have? Okay, we have 30 seconds. Michael and Buford, real quick, your favorite sports movie?
I got a few of them, guys, and by the way, love the show.
Thank you.
My first would be The Natural, Robert Redford. Great baseball movie.
Yeah, I love that. I like that one. Yep.
Another one, Remember the Titans. I love it. And
Yep.
just for a goofy one, Little Giants. It's just a great little comedy for kids.
Yep.
Yeah, amazing movie still. But again, my number one would be The Natural. That was a great movie growing up, and I just can't say how much I love that film.
I got a great story about that when we come back.
All right, and what was the one with Michael Jordan and the Bugs Bunny character?
Oh, we'll forget that one.
Okay. All right, we'll forget it during the break.
Space
Jam.
Space Jam.
All right, 404-741-0929. Give us a call. We'll get to your calls after the break. Mike Salmon, film producer Rick Cohen, talking about the greatest sports movies of all time and some clunkers as well on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
It's game time.
Welcome to Atlanta. Sports Radio 92.9. The Game.
Jack, being new to the club, how do you feel about the way things have gone for the Indians so far?
I'm the only winner on the team. The rest of them are losers, either by choice or by birth.
is from Major League 2, Robbie? Major League 2, which wasn't even half as good as Major League 1. Robbie, you want to know?
There's a couple
put
people
Robbie
that
on
are
the air now. He's
disagreeing
gonna
with
start
you on
cussing.
this. I know.
Honestly, like I have
You
this
thought
argument.
Major League 2 was better than Major
Yes,
League 1.
I did. I definitely did. Jack Parkman was one of the best movie characters ever.
I'm not far off on that. I'm serious. I'm not far off on that because I'm not a big fan of Major League 1. I think it's over the top, sappy, and
right.
And I hate the female owner character.
Right.
I think it's
and she only comes back for a little while.
I know.
Too.
I don't like her.
Rube Baker in 2. I
Yes.
mean, the Japanese guy in 2. I mean, Serrano comes back. I think it's great. Even Roger Dorn makes an appearance.
I know.
What was the Wesley Snipes character?
Well, actually, it wasn't Wesley Snipes. I don't know if he wasn't. I don't know if you know the story behind. I don't know, but I know Omar Epps played Willie Mays Hayes in 2.
But wasn't who was Willie Mays Hayes in 1? It was Wesley Snipes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You may run like Mays, but you hit.
But you
can't say that on the air.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about some of the greatest sports movies of all time and some of maybe the worst. 404-741-0929. And, Rick, before we hit some calls?
I had a natural story.
Okay.
I was young in high school at one time, yes. I was young, 1982, and I wanted to learn how to write a screenplay. And a friend of mine's dad was a friend of a film producer, and he said, well, I'll get you a screenplay, and you can read the screenplay and learn how to write a screenplay. So he gave it to me, and I just went, tore it up, went right through it. And I think the first screenplay I ever wrote was about 240 pages, about 120 pages too long. But it was The Natural. So fast forward 25, 30 years later, and I make the movie Faded Glory. And I'm looking for it was the same movie that Angelo had seen, Angelo Pizzo, and he said I was interested in writing the feature version. Well, my agent gave it to another person, and that person called me up and said, my agent called me up and said, this person wants to talk to you on the phone. And lo and behold, it was Roger Town who wrote The Natural. So I got him on the phone. We were talking. I said, you're the reason I started to write screenplays and got in the movie business. So you never know how things come full circle, but Roger Town was the reason I got into this business.
That's great. Some of the text messages coming in at 22929. Space Jam, Cool Runnings. That was the Jamaican bobsled team.
Yeah, that's a Disney-esque movie. Great family
John
film.
Candy.
Yeah.
The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh.
The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh has some of the worst uniforms in all of sports. But it is a great movie, and Dr. J is wonderful in that film.
All right, let's go to Cheryl and McDonough. Cheryl, thanks for holding on. You're on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Hi, how you guys doing tonight?
We're having fun.
I got in here kind of late, but I don't know if anybody ever mentioned The Longest Yard with Burt Reynolds, the original one.
I only said it was one of my top 3 sports films of all time, the original.
And the worst one was the second remake with Adam Sandler, I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. Longest Yard is maybe one of the best movies of all time and one of the worst movies of all time.
I know.
Yes.
Superstar.
And the other one I wanted to mention was the Tom Cruise movie, All the Right Moves, I thought was actually a pretty good one that he did.
You know what? I can't believe we haven't mentioned that one. That's a real depiction of the steel mining town football mentality because I played college football in Pennsylvania, and I played with a lot of guys that came from the Aliquippas and some of the Pittsburgh area. So that was another great movie.
All right, Cheryl, thanks for the phone call.
All right, have a good night.
All right, let's go to Sean in Atlanta. Sean, thanks for holding. You're on the air.
Hey, guys. Great show tonight.
Thanks, man.
All right. One of the movies that really inspired me when I was a kid was Pistol Pete, the Pete Maravich story. I think for about 2 weeks after that.
I've actually met him in real life.
I never saw that, but I mean, they should do a documentary on Pistol Pete, by the way. That's a really good 30 for 30. So
okay.
They should think about that. But I never saw that. Was there an actor that played?
I don't remember. It might have been a made-for-TV movie, but I'm not sure.
That may have been.
It was called Pistol Pete, though?
I believe so.
All right, Sean, we're going to look that one up and get back to you on that one and figure out who was in that one. Let's go to Stephen in Woodstock. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hey, how y'all doing? Love the show.
Good. Welcome, Stephen.
Awesome.
All right. Two movies that I think are great, and I'm surprised haven't been mentioned yet, is The Sandlot.
We talked about it. Yeah,
it's been mentioned.
Yeah, with the Cujo dog in the outfield.
Uh-huh.
Yep, and then Friday Night Lights. I thought that was a really great one too.
We talked about that too. I think the series is even better than the actual movie. I loved the series. I thought it really delved into what it's like to grow up in a town like that, And Kyle Chandler as the coach was even better than Billy Bob Thornton as the movie coach.
We've got a lot of text messages for Friday Night Lights. The Natural also coming up on the text messages at 22929. Chris in Palmetto. Chris, welcome to Sports Radio 92.9 The Game.
Yeah, I think the actor was Robbie Benson that played the Pistol Pete character.
Oh, really? It's the same one in One-on-One?
Then that was definitely a made-for-TV movie because he did all the made-for-TV movies.
He did all those kind back then.
They made us watch those in elementary school all the time.
He was good, by the way. He was that
wasn't
good
he
of a
boy in the
basketball
bubble?
player. Yes. No, that was John Travolta.
That was
Okay.
Travolta. No, my two are, now, anyone where you can lose your virginity to Linda Fiorentino has to be a good movie, but it's Vision Quest.
We talked about that. Somebody called up and said that Madonna was in that, thinking that Linda Fiorentino was Madonna for some reason. I know. There's no comparison.
I've never heard. That's come up 5 times. I've never heard of that one movie before.
Wrestling movie. It got people into wrestling.
All right. What else, Chris?
And what about, did anybody say the Jericho Mile?
No.
Oh,
Where he's
that's
in
right.
jail and he reached the time?
That's right. I love that. That was a made-for-TV movie, though, wasn't it?
I'm not sure about that, but yeah, it's about the Olympic runner makes the time, and he runs it too inside the prison with a stopwatch and beats the Olympic gold medalist time.
Yeah,
but he could never get. He was in jail for, I think, murder actually, but that was a hell of a movie too.
Yeah, it was Peter Strauss and Brian Dennehy.
Yeah,
right. Brian Dennehy was in that.
Yeah, that was a great movie. I like that one a lot.
All right, Chris. Thank you so much for the phone call. Thanks for listening.
Well, it's funny. Jericho Mile. Michael Mann directed the Jericho Mile, and Michael Mann, as we all know, has come back and done some huge movies like Heat, The Insider, The Last of the Mohicans. So, but a lot of these guys, David Ansbaugh, who directed Hoosiers and Rudy, he got his start in television doing Hill Street Blues.
All right, we're talking great sports films and some not so great sports films on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. We're with Rick Cohen live in the studio, film producer. And earlier we had on the show Angelo Pizzo, the writer of Hoosiers and Rudy. And I'm still thinking that's just so cool.
Still jazzed
I'm still jazzed about that. Let's go to Oscar and Griffin. Oscar, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have 2 movies. These movies probably didn't get a lot of popularity.
Okay.
But you're talking about some tearjerkers. I don't know if anybody mentioned Something for Joey.
Oh, man.
Something for Joey?
By the way, another TV movie, but a
Okay.
very good TV movie.
The Loretta Claiborne story, she was basically like Wilma Rudolph, only on the Special Olympics side. Very good movie.
Don't know that one, but Something for Joey was like right after Brian's song. So it was about the same time period.
Loretta Claiborne story. It was a Disney movie.
All right.
So check it out when you get a chance.
Thank you so much, Oscar. Thanks for listening. Let's go to Tim and Marietta. Tim, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, I got a movie. I think it was an HBO movie. It's one of my favorite sports movies of all time. It's 61 with Barry Pepper.
That was the Billy Crystal movie?
Yeah.
61 with an asterisk.
It was a very well produced film.
Roger Meredith's movie is it was great.
Yeah.
And then being from Pittsburgh, I have a really, really bad movie. Is the Van Damme hockey Penguin movie.
Sudden Death.
Yeah.
Sudden Death. I couldn't remember the name of it, but
that was the hockey movie with Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, not to be confused with Sudden Impact.
I've got a story,
what? You have a Jean-Claude Van Damme story?
No, and thank you so much for the phone call. That movie came out back in the mid-1990s. Atlanta had a hockey team back then called the Atlanta Knights. He came to town to promote that movie, and I worked for the Knights. He came to the Omni, and he dropped the puck before the game, but he had an entourage with him and everything, but he was just the biggest jerk.
Did he drop kick the puck or did he drop the puck?
He just dropped it. He came in, did his puck thing, and left. And that was it. But I mean, the people that had to deal with him there, he just wasn't very nice.
No, I got a Jean-Claude
And so
Van Damme story.
when the movie didn't do well, I was
can't
like,
repeat it.
Good. I didn't like him anyway.
That's funny. I'm still hooked on Something for Joey, which was
he wouldn't sign autographs. He wouldn't do nothing. He was just leave me alone. He made sure no one got anywhere near him.
Which was the Something for Joey thing. I keep going back. Mark Singer played John Capoletti. I don't know if you remember Mark Singer. He was action.
I barely remember John Capoletti.
Well, John Capoletti won the 1973
football player.
Heisman Trophy.
Yeah. Rich in Doraville, welcome to the show, Rich. You got some good movies for us or some bad movies?
Cinderella Man.
Cinderella. Hey, that's right. And
What?
it was up for an Oscar.
True story.
Cinderella Man.
This is Richard Bad News Barnes. I'm the baddest human being on the planet. Pro box, a 30-year pro, negotiating with the boxing commission to get a license in Georgia, and that's a true story. I've been suspended, and I'm going to become a world champion just like J.J. Braddock.
Right. But honestly, that was a really good boxing movie.
Didn't the lead actress? What's her name? Who was the lead?
Well, Russell Crowe was the actor.
What was the one where it was the woman played? And thank you for the call. What was the name of the movie where the woman played the boxer?
Oh, that was the Clint Eastwood movie. It was Hilary Swank.
Yeah, Hilary Swank. Mm-hmm. I thought that was that movie. That wasn't that movie, obviously.
No, it wasn't that.
What was the Hilary Swank movie where she played a boxer?
$1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby.
Yeah, $1 Million Baby.
Okay. And that's come up a couple on the text messages that we're getting at 22929.
Another good movie.
Waterboy came up again. 8 Men Out and Chariots of Fire. Time to go to Patrick in Chatsworth.
Yeah.
Hey, Patrick.
How you doing? Great show, guys. I love the topic tonight.
Cool.
One I haven't heard yet is Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know if you consider that a sports movie or not.
No, one of the best documentaries of all time. And there are some amazing scenes of Arnold just like trying to intimidate Lou Ferrigno, like literally walking by him and pumping his and says, is that all you're lifting? And I mean, really, it's Arnold in his heyday.
So that wasn't in the movie theaters.
It was in the movie theaters.
That was in the movie theaters.
Yeah, it was
really?
a documentary, but it was one of those the first documentaries before Michael Moore documentaries started being mainstream and came out in the movie theater. It actually came out in the movie theater and did quite well, and it made Arnold a star.
Thank you, Patrick, for the phone call. Thanks for listening.
That's a good one, man. Way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Bob in Flowery Branch, home of the Flowery Branch Falcons. Bob, welcome to the show.
Well, welcome. I mean, thank you.
I threw you for a loop there.
Here's a movie that, I mean, I'm 58, but I'm surprised that this athlete is hardly ever mentioned of the all-time greatest athletes. And this movie was made about him. Burt Lancaster starred in it, the Jim Thorpe story.
Jim Thorpe. Well, I'm not a big fan of the movie, but
black and white, right?
It's a black and white. It's very vanilla. But for that time, I mean, so is if you really want to go vanilla. I mean, so is the Lou Gehrig story too.
Pride of the Yankees.
Pride of the Yankees. That's very vanilla as well.
Yankees, yeah.
But that's how they made movies back then, and you can still appreciate it. I don't think that movie's as good.
He played Babe Ruth. Yeah, I forget the name of the movie, but probably the first Babe Ruth movie.
Yes, I know.
We talked about it earlier because the
Off
Babe
the
with
wall.
John
What
Goodman
about
was bad.
Rollerball?
You know, I brought up Rollerball before because someone said one of the worst movies of all time, but they meant Rollerball 2 with Chris Klein. Rollerball is wonderful, and it's another reason why. Another reason why I like Rollerball is it's one of those movies that brings in the culture of what really is happening today with sports. If you talk about the concussions going on in sports, well, it's a look into the future, Rollerball, of what is happening today with the football players. And who knows, in 20 years, we could send guys out there, with live missiles killing each other.
All right, Bob, thanks for the phone call. We're going to try to get through these calls real quick because soon we're going to have a guest coming up, another film writer and producer, and we'll talk about that in a second. But real quick, JW in Fayetteville. JW, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you for taking my call. Gentlemen, I have to apologize. My memory is bad, but I thought a great sports movie was the saga of the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers basketball team.
Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. I don't know that.
Do you know that one? I have no idea.
We'll have to look that one up.
I'm looking that up, man. You stumped me on that one. That's a hard one for me, and I know all the sports movies.
Thank you, Joe. And you look that one up, and I'm going to go through these calls. Sean in Marietta. Sean, welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on, man? First of all, I want to give two movies and a movie scene. He Got Game and Love and Basketball. And to me, the best sports moment in the movie is when Forrest Gump gets on the field and he runs through the Alabama, runs all the way down the Alabama field.
I guess Forrest Gump's a sports movie. Nobody's brought that up.
No, and the juxtaposition of him with the braces, running with the braces off, and then all of a sudden he's running for a touchdown for Alabama. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, thank you very much for that one. Let's go to Joe and Dunwoody. Joe, real quick.
Hey, I got two. Rollerball, awesome movie.
way before its time. Another one before its time would be North Dallas 40.
Yep.
Yeah, we
also talked about
one.
that as well.
Good one. Thank you, Joe. And Danny, you're on the show. Danny, what you got?
Great movie in the late 80s, Victory. Soccer movie, Allies versus the Germans.
Oh, Sylvester Stallone.
Pele, and Michael Caine.
That's not the one. That's not the arm wrestling movie.
No, these guys are in
soccer.
German concentration
soccer
camp.
one.
But yeah, it's okay.
All right. Thank you for your phone call. We're up against a break. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to talk with Sean Pamphilin. He is an independent filmmaker and former sports TV producer. He did Run, Ricky, Run, the ESPN 30 for 30 documentary. He's also the guy that was in the Saints locker room during the whole Bounty Gate thing. So that's coming up next right here on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game. We are back. Mike Salmon with you on Sports Radio 92.9 The Game, along with film producer Rick Cohen. We've been having a lot of fun in the last hour and a half talking about some of the greatest sports movies of all time and also some of the worst of all time, taking a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts as well. Another special guest joining us now this hour. I want to welcome Sean Pamphilin to the show. Sean's an independent filmmaker, much like Rick, a former sports TV producer. He produced multiple TV features on NFL player Ricky Williams for both Fox Sports and ESPN, and he later directed the Williams documentary Run, Ricky, Run, which we all saw on ESPN's 30 for 30. Sean, welcome to the program.
How you guys?
Hey, Shawnee, how you feeling, man? He's got a little frog today.
Yeah, I'm playing hurt today. I've got a real sore throat.
Oh my goodness!
The fish that say Pittsburgh. Ever.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Wait,
best uniforms ever.
Was that the best or worst movie of all time? That was.
It was awesome.
We've had a couple of text messages with that one as well. Welcome to the program. So glad to have you on. Talk about your 30 for 30 documentary, Run, Ricky, Run. How did that get started? How did you get involved with Ricky Williams?
Well, I met Ricky Williams in college, and I was a freelance producer for ESPN. So I'd done a few features on him, and we became friends. And I did some more features on him when he was in the pros, specifically with New Orleans. And when he retired, I was the guy that he trusted, that he invited in to tell his story.
What other things do you have on the docket right now? What other things can we keep an eye out for that has your name attached to it?
Well, I'm working on a film called The United States of Football, and I'm just about done with it. I'll be done with it, some of the recuts in the next few weeks, but we've started to meet with distributors, and the response has been really good. So it's a cultural examination of football from Pee Wee to the pros. And it started out because I'm a dad making the decision about whether or not to let his son play football. So I went out, and 3 years later, and a lot of time, love, and energy later, came to my decision. But also during that time, really paid specific attention to the health issues as it relates to football.
Pretty timely subject, right, Sean? And this is Rick, by the way. Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
Good. So, it couldn't come at a better time with the subject really out there in the NFL. What's your take on Goodell right now and how much effort he's taking to bring safety to the game? Do you think he's overdoing it, especially with this kickoff thing?
I don't think he's overdoing it. I just don't think that football is something that you're going to be able to make safe. All the commercials the NFL are putting out touting the newer and safer game and all this other stuff. Well, they're not really very specific. They're $100 million is going to be allocated to research. Well, what are they going to research? They're going to make better helmets? You cannot make your brain on the interior of your skull not bash against the edge of your skull. You just can't do it. So I think that they realize they're fighting sort of a losing battle in that respect. So they want to just have the best PR possible and do everything they can to make it look like they're doing everything they can, because they're being sued by over 3,500 guys.
So you're saying a lot of it's window dressing is what you're telling us?
Well, I think Goodell has got his heart in the right place. I'm not saying he's a bad human being, but I think that it's pretty clear, and it has been for a while, that people who played this game for an extensive period of time, many of them suffer cognitive issues that are horrendous. So it's basically those guys decided to get together and share information rather than just being the proud, silent warriors and sitting at home just all mangled and twisted up, and their family has to take care of them. They got together and unified, and they realized, hey, you know what? that happens to me too. So the NFL, I mean, they didn't even, when we started making this film in 2009, the NFL hadn't even acknowledged that there was a correlation between football and brain disease. So a lot's happened since then, and I think that they're scared. I think they should be.
We're talking with Sean Pamphilon, who's an independent filmmaker, former sports TV producer, did the 30 for 30 on Ricky Williams, Run, Ricky, Run. Some of the folks here also recognized your name because of the New Orleans Saints bounty scandal. You were the one that was there in the meeting room, and it was your audio that was let out that the media got to hear, that the public got to hear, with Coach Greg Williams instructing his players to inflict physical harm on their opponents. Talk about that story. You were, I guess, working on a documentary. Why were you in there filming?
I was working on a documentary about Steve Gleason at the time, the former Saint special teams stud, a gentleman who's afflicted with ALS. And, so I've been working with Steve for about a year. And, it was the first meeting of that sort that I'd been to as far as an individual meeting. I'd been in, defensive meetings. I'd been in team meetings, but I hadn't been in that particular type of meeting with Greg Williams doing that. And, I didn't really know what it was. I didn't know at the end when they're calling guys up with envelopes. I didn't know they had a system because I wasn't even really paying attention to that. I was paying attention to Steve Gleason because that's who I was shooting. And I guess a month and a half later, it came out that there was, a system in place, and I called my film partner. I said, I think we have that. But the night I heard it, I was shooting 2 cameras, and I knew the things he was saying about targeting guys with concussions was incredibly wrong, and I was going to reference it in my film, but I didn't have the intention of releasing the audio until he was busted, and he basically said that he and his players knew what was wrong, and it was clear he was in charge.
After Roger Goodell made the announcement that there was going to be some penalties with Bountygate and so forth, was it a tough decision for you to release that audio, or did someone have to talk you into it, or was it, hey, I have it, here it is?
Well, I mean, it was a very tough decision because I was in discussions with Steve Gleason, with Scott Fujita, and with Drew Brees. So it was difficult, especially towards the end, because it was my understanding that we were all working in concert and agreeing that this should be released. And then towards the end of that experience, a few hours before it was released, they were trying to, well, not Fujita, but Gleason and Brees were trying to get my writing before it was released, and it was my feeling that they were trying to control it or to vet it. And I felt that was inappropriate, so it got released, and people acted as if it was just me doing it for attention. So that was difficult. And
Sean, you have actual documentation of texts that you've received from these players on your website. You want to tell people about your website?
Yeah, it's SeanPamphilon.com. And there's literally a voicemail from Brees 2 hours before the Bountygate audio is released telling me that, asking to read my writing before it comes out. I mean, it's just amazing to me that this audio exists, and I've not heard one mainstream sports journalist ever ask him the question about his complicity in getting the material released. He's done, cross-country, interviews talking about, concussions with kids and everything, and he doesn't even, nobody questions him. It's there, but he's a sacred cow, I guess. And, he's a great fantasy quarterback.
He's a great fantasy. We were both talking about that the other day, that we have him on our fantasy team, even though we.
I got you. Talking with Sean Pamphilon, a filmmaker who, again, was in the meeting room when in the whole Bountygate thing. So you're there with a couple cameras. You actually have video, audio of everything that Coach Greg Williams was saying. I'm assuming the NFL, Roger Goodell, all their investigators. I mean, you must have been, man number one that they wanted to interview because you had all this. You had the smoking gun evidence.
Once it was released, they asked for it, and initially I declined, but they were reporting on their website, or some of the reporters were, that I secretly did this. At that point, that kind of pissed me off. So I went to New York, and I tried to get a meeting with Goodell to show them, and then to basically insist that they stop putting out false information about me, because it's damaging, and it gets picked up by a few thousand other entities. So I showed it to their security officers, after basically, I guess, a month and a half after I released it. But since then I've had no further questions. It's just amazing to me that it's literally, you hear the way it went down and everybody's focused on the money. It doesn't matter about the money. I mean, listen to what that guy was telling guys to do to other guys in an era when we know this is happening. You have cognitive issues. So these arguments of well, that's just football. Well, that's just ridiculous. We didn't know back then what you know now. You can't rely on ancient codes when you find out new information. It's just crazy. What do you guys think?
Well, first of all, what do you think of the reversal recently with Tagliabue?
Oh, I think that was awesome. I think that was great. I think Jonathan Vilma eventually will be seen as somewhat of a Kurt Flood, even if he did, say, hey, I got $10,000 to you to take out Favre. Guess what? They're going to take out Favre anyway. I mean, guys who are making this money aren't going, man, I hope I can get that extra $10,000 for that car payment by knocking this guy out.
Right.
I mean, please, they're doing it because they're trying to win. So it never, to me, it never was about the money. It was about the intention of what you're going to do to somebody else. So I think Vilma's going to be Kurt Flood. I think he's going to – I'm psyched he's still suing Goodell because I don't think that someone should have that amount of power. But at the same time, the players, they let them have it. They voted. They allowed that to be collectively bargained. So they have to look at themselves and say, you know what, guess what? I better pay attention to my union rep, or I better make sure he's paying attention to what's going on.
Sean, we only got another minute and a half with you. We're talking with Sean Pamphilon, an independent filmmaker, was the guy that was in there filming the conversation, the meeting with Saints coach Greg Williams and the whole Bounty Gate thing. Has there been any fallout from New Orleans Saints fans? I mean, death threats, anything like that? Because even though you're just the messenger, you were there. You're the one that has the video and the audio of what he said. You're the one that gave it, let the media and the public hear it. Has there been any fallout from Saints fans? Because I'm sure they're looking for someone to be villain number one.
Oh, I had a lot of threats from that region. The irony is, I'm a Saints fan, so they can say what they want, but I'm one of you, and I don't hate me. But the interesting thing is, they had a poll, and down there, I guess, BP, Katrina, Goodell, Nagin, and Pamphilon are the epithets in the Big Easy. And it's terrible because I love the city. I think the people are awesome. I just had a philosophical difference with one individual, and then I had other individuals involved in something that they don't acknowledge. So I'm sorry the people of New Orleans can't accept the truth because it's sitting right there. Your quarterback is on my website.
Yep.
It's funny.
Sean, we appreciate your time so much. We know you don't do a whole lot of interviews. That this says a lot for you to come on and talk about this.
Unbelievable, Sean. I mean, I can't thank you enough. And Sean and I are trying to work on something in the future together. Pretty recent. So there should be more of this going on very soon.
All right, Sean. Thank you.
Can I say one really quick thing?
Sure, absolutely.
The coolest thing about the fish that saved Pittsburgh,
when
Dr. J was on the playground, and the way he was trying to impress the chick was he was showing her all his moves, and they slow-moed it. I was 8 years old. I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
we got a producer in here that loves you right now.
Yes, we've said that, and still the best uniforms in sports.
Thank you so much for your time, Sean.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, guys.
Hey,
right,
buddy,
Sean
I'll talk to you soon.
On Sports Radio 92.9, The Game, filmmaker, former sports TV producer, and it's a huge interview that we just had him here, and we will have more right after over there and start talking.
I love the rock and roll music, too, by the way.
Rick Cohen, independent filmmaker, has done some stuff for lots of TV stations and stuff, had a thing on Georgia Public Television last night, lots of great sports documentaries. We've been talking sports movies, and Rick, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We've got one of your friends on the line right now, Pete in Nashville. Welcome to the show, and Pete, you know Rick?
Not as Rick, but yes, I've known him for
Richard,
years.
you can know I had a nickname growing up, and he can say it. Go ahead.
As far as I'm concerned, and to many who knew him back then, it's Munson, and always will be.
Munson. When I was a kid, a counselor named me Munson. I was a catcher. I was kind of, stocky and big as a little boy, and that was, that was my favorite player.
Okay.
It's funny because when Thurman Munson died, I was going to this camp, and the little kids in the camp only knew me as Munson. And I wasn't in the lunchroom when they announced that Munson died, and the kids in the camp thought I had died.
Oh,
That's a true story.
I will never forget that day, nor that announcement.
Oh.
But I was there then. But I figured I would give you the opportunity now to espouse more than a one-line sentence on Facebook. I figured I'd ask for your professional opinion, Munson, on what you think of our beloved Kevin Youkilis going to the hated Evil Empire.
Well, first off, I love the Uke going to the Evil Empire. I'm a Jew. He's a Jew. We need more Jews in New York. Anyway, it's great to get the Uke. We need a third baseman. So,
Pete, thanks for the phone call.